What's up, guys? It is Corey from Super Comic Guru 9000, and this is my review of One Piece, episode 608. And joined with me this week is a very special guest. It is Christian! You guys probably know him from the Naruto reviews and from the friggin' channel itself. He decided to watch this week's episode with me because, conveniently, the Naruto chapter came out of nowhere. So I thought this would be fun. Maybe he could relive the old days when he used to review One Piece. So let's just go ahead and jump into this exciting episode.
The first thing we see is Law entering a gigantic room, which has the light pouring in behind him, sending this big shadow across the floor. And in front of him is a big container named Sad. And this room has so much like heavy atmosphere, and it was a really intense way to start the episode after you get through the 5 minutes of intro and recap.
So after asking a million questions about what the fuck is Sad, we finally go back to Sanji, and he meets up with the G5 Marines. And this is a really interesting scene because, you know, you have the typical group of guys just commenting about everything, and they're all like, what's up with Virgo? Why did he attack us? Why? And Tashigi basically has to coddle her Marines, which is a really weird thing to say, because she doesn't want to disappoint them about Virgo, so they decide to go and try and find him. This actually cuts away to this really funny scene. I laughed a little bit at first when you see Virgo actually jumping through the sky like a frog. I know that's a weird thing to comment about.
That's like his sky jumping technique.
It's kind of like the CP9 guys, the way they sort of jumped around.
But his version of it.
But he's just like so like straightforward about the way he does it. It just looks really funny. What's great about the scene is it immediately segues to Doflamingo. We get to go to his island paradise. You get to see him hanging out with all of his group of friends, which are just weird as hell, even by One Piece standards, especially this one chick who just explodes out of a fucking window, and she has these, like, weird T-1000 abilities where she can, like, create weapons with her hands. Like, she has these, like, scythes, and she even creates, like, this gun pistol. I don't really know what to make of it. But what's interesting about this scene is you can see that Doflamingo is getting ready to talk to both Monet and Caesar, and he has a lot of important things to bring up.
So at the conclusion of this phone call, we see that Baby 5 and Buffalo are actually being sent to Punk Hazard, and that he is warning everyone, hey, if you see Luffy, watch out, because that guy has Conqueror's Haki, and that's no joke. I mean, very few people have that. And also, just dispose of Law the worst way possible. Let's make an example out of him. And it just shows you how ruthless Joker is. And he honestly, when his veins come out and stuff, you can just tell that this cross-dressing badass is just ready to fuck people up. You can't handle the snow battle. You'll get caught up in the
snow battle!
Yeah!
Alright. So apparently Monet has the snow fruit. She's able to conjure snow, and maybe she's a Logia type of some sort. And she actually gives Luffy a pretty tough battle at first. But eventually, you know, Luffy's just going to be able to overcome. But this is all just a big distraction. Monet just wants to get out of there. And she uses this technique where she covers him up with this giant dome of snow. But he's able to break out with the gear second, but she's nowhere to be seen. And this is a shame because I actually liked seeing her fight because she hasn't really done anything. And she's still a pretty mysterious character altogether.
Now we come to the part where Chopper and Mocha are actually trying to stop the other kids from eating the candy, which is just really symbolism for heavy drug use. So the kids are pretty much about to go all Attack on Titan on Chopper as Mocha runs away trying to get rid of the rest of the candies before the kids can break out. And I just hear the theme song of Attack on Titan as they're like bursting through the wall and Chopper's like, ah!
So the final bit of the episode was all about double dragons this week, and it's really awesome because a lot of the times when they go back to Brownbeard and all the characters just sort of running around Punk Hazard, I get kind of disappointed because I'm like, this is probably just going to be a cheap joke. But it actually pays off this week, and it looks like it's going to be integrated finally into the storyline. Now, this dragon is pissed off, it's blowing fire all over the place, and it looks like Kinemon is going to be the one to take it out. He has some sort of grudge against the dragon. But then all of a sudden, Brook is like, no, I'm going to be the one who's going to take it out. He has an even bigger grudge, and this one's kind of weird. You got to work with me on this. Apparently, he's upset by the fact that the dragon did not want to eat him because he's all bones.
There's nutrition in bones.
There is nutrition in bones. This is just, it's disgraceful. You can see why Brook is so pissed. So everybody has to do this really great combination technique. You have Brook, you have Kinemon, you have Nami, and you have Robin. They all get to use their signature abilities, the fire, the ice. You got Robin who, in a really messed up way, snaps the dragon in half. You have Nami who just electrocutes the fuck out of it. And you think that'd be the end of the dragon. It's dead. But Kinemon is really holding that grudge. He gets right up in its face and just continuously starts kicking it left and right, lamenting about the fact why he hates dragons so much. And what's kind of funny about the scene, honestly, is you can see that Brook is kind of visibly like upset watching this, and the fact that he's a skeleton and can't really show that much emotion just shows that this is some pretty fucked up shit going on here. And why does he have a grudge? Why is this? Well, we might actually learn at the very end of this episode. We actually get to see there's this one mysterious girl who's talking to those weird Monsters Incorporated guys. And she mentions, exactly, she mentions that there's this one little boy who managed to leave and escape, and he transformed into a small dragon. To be continued screen. We can't even really, adjust to what's going on here. But it's pretty obvious why Kinemon has some sort of extreme grudge against the dragons, because the dragons have been messing with his son. I don't fucking know.
Turn his son into one. He's pissed.
I don't know what to make of it. But that's what's perfect about this episode. It gives you that to be continued screen.
Makes you want to watch next week.
Exactly. And next week's episode looks like it's going to be really fun. But let's talk about this one, the positives this week. Doflamingo's crew. I think that was the most exciting thing I've seen in this episode.
See, you liked his crew. I like seeing that Doflamingo is really, he is a bad guy. It's very, sometimes in One Piece you get kind of, mixed bad guys, the guys that have, their own MO. But definitely Doflamingo is just such a badass, and, seeing him torture people. And he always has that weird, sort of sadistic, almost Joker-like smile. It's kind of convenient, because
that's probably what it is. It possibly is an homage to the Batman's Joker, the fact that he's always got that shit-eating grin on his face.
Oh, that was his code name too, so it's kind of fucking with it. I didn't even mean to make that connection.
See, there you go. It all works out. But I like the part that you brought up, the fact that he is one of the most ruthless villains in the series. We've seen some real fucked up guys. Crocodile's pretty bad himself. Enel was even pretty bad. But Doflamingo has really shown that he's just so sadistic. You remember that one scene originally, it was right after Skypiea, where I think he had, Bellamy and that one dude fight each other?
Yeah.
That was really fucked up. And then in the scene in the war where he, just cuts the dude's leg off and then just starts, dancing around his blood and everything. That's really, really messed up. In this episode, it shows even more. I especially like the fact that you brought up when he's talking on the phone, the animators took the time to, show, his veins popping in his forehead.
Yeah.
He's clearly kind of enjoying, the stuff he's talking about, almost sort of getting off on it. And, his whole crew is just insane. That one weird chick, Baby 5.
Yeah.
What's her abilities?
T1000.
What type of weapon is that? Is that the weapon fruit?
Because usually you can turn your hands into blades.
Yeah.
But you can't turn your hands into, or you can turn your hands into guns. We've seen both those devil fruits, but we've never seen
both of them together. Maybe it's I don't know. It's weird. And it's also, again, going with Doflamingo being a completely fucked up villain, the scene where he's, sort of forcing her, about to, shoot her head.
Or she has to go to Punk Hazard. It's
exactly.
one or the other.
She's definitely going to be going to Punk Hazard. But, just there were some other crew members they showed that were completely in silhouette, so we don't know who they are. They're probably pretty important to the story. And just a lot of really great build-up in this one. And the action was pretty good. I liked the Monet and Luffy fight. And it looks like it's going to pick up a little bit more with the action this week. And the dragon stuff.
Let me ask you a question, Corey.
Sure.
Do you really care about the kid stuff, though?
The kid stuff?
The kid stuff is the least
The kid
interesting
stuff,
to me.
in all fairness, the kid stuff is probably my least favorite thing about this arc.
Yeah.
But the thing about Kinemon's son, I think that's the most interesting aspect because of this episode. The fact that he can turn into a dragon. What the hell's up with that?
Yeah, there's definitely some questions that brought up, but that almost seems like a whole different thing.
Exactly, but that's what I like about it, because it almost seemed like this was going to be kind of a one-note kind of arc, but then they threw this little bit at the end, and I was like, whoa, that's really interesting. And it's making Kinemon really interesting, too. He's not just a one-note character.
And the other thing that's really important about One Piece when it works well is it always has 8 or 10 things going on in an episode, and if those things don't work well together, and as well as their own little story, the whole episode can really fall apart, and especially when you're reading the manga, because there's so many things going on. So I think this episode actually pulled it off, and everything we went to in it was interesting the whole time, which is sometimes hard for One Piece, because it'll just be a really good part, and then everything else is just stupid faces, and everyone's
That's a really good point. Yeah, everything felt really integrated this week. Everything sort of played off each other well. The people who were with Brownbeard and the Dragon eventually ran into Chopper. Chopper ran into them. Sanji's going to meet up with them. Everything is it's adding up perfectly, and it's all happening at the same time. And they had a pretty good balance this week. And even though there was the typical long intro and the long recap, the episode itself was still really, really entertaining. I think if you're a One Piece fan, you absolutely must check it out, if only for that cool little bit they're adding in at the end with Kinemon's son. I think that's going to spice up the story a little bit. So good action, pretty decent animation. Artwork was a little wonky this week in some parts, so because of that, I'm going to have to drop it down from me to an 8 out of 10. It was an exciting episode. Learning that stuff at the end about Kinemon's son has got me really, really excited, and it's actually got me caring about what's going on with these kids a little bit more. But really, Doflamingo stole the show this week.
This last thing I'd like to bring up is that I thought it was really cool that Joker ended up warning everyone about Luffy and the Conqueror's Haki and things like that. Like, that actually puts in perspective, like, how even dangerous, Joker, Doflamingo, actually thinks Luffy is. And I think that's pretty impressive, and that actually ranks him pretty high. And especially in One Piece, it is hard to rank characters. So you more like have to look for props and things like that to show the ranking of a character, because a wanted poster alone is not going to do it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this review. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give us a thumbs up. And if you're not already, subscribe to the channel for more great anime and manga reviews. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, Super Kami Guru 9000 out.